Hello, I'm Ashley Thomas and welcome to my channel. If you're new here and would like to follow just a geek who loves to talk about film, TV and everything geeky, then why not hit that subscribe button. Okay, Us, directed and written by Jordan Peele. In case you didn't know, he also brought us the very good Get Out. I've done a review for that. I will leave a link up above. So the film follows a family that go on vacation but are confronted by another family who just happen to look just like them. They are duplicates but have a much darker, sinister side to them. With Get Out, you had social commentary with humour. You get the same with Us, but it is a lot more of a straight up horror movie. And it's a horror movie that sort of evolves as well as it progresses. And by evolve, I mean this movie seems to have different types of horror within it. Like, for me anyway, to start with, it felt more like a psychological horror. Then it sort of goes into this sort of, it almost was like a house invasion horror. Then there's like a moment where the film sort of evolves into a slasher horror, and I really liked that. But what I really liked was, this being much more of a straight up horror than Get Out was. What I really liked was they don't really rely on gore and violence to create that horror. Now there is, there are some brutal deaths within this movie and there is blood, but they don't really heavily rely on that to sell the horror. And I really like that. And the horror is achieved by many different aspects, but one of those is this film is masterfully directed by Jordan Peele. Boy, does this man know how to create tension in moments and scenes. He did it with Get Out. He did an incredible job when it came to the tension in Get Out, and he does it again with Us. There are moments in this film which are incredibly tense, very creepy, and it's all down to the way this film was directed. I love the lighting as well. Some really nice lighting, and the cinematography was also beautiful. But it's also the performances by the cast that really help sell the horror within this movie. Lupita Nyong'o, who portrays the matriarch of the Winston family, the mother, her performance in this movie was incredible. She sold the horror. She made me buy into the horror. She made me believe into her character. Her performance was amazing. Same goes for Winston Duke as her husband, Gabriel Wilson. He was also, really good. Shahadi Wright, I think that's how you pronounce her name, has the daughter. She was also incredible. Like, there were some moments in which something really bad was going down or something was, very horrifying was happening, and her performance really sold the horror. You could see the fear in her eyes, and she just, there was never once where I was like, nah, it's just a child actor, not quite, sell it, I don't quite believe in her. There was nothing like that. Her performance was it just felt incredibly real. What I will also say about Winston Duke, actually, who plays the husband, when it comes to the humour and delivering the humour, I felt like he did quite a good job at that. But when it comes to the humour, I'm going to talk about the humour in a moment. But sticking with performances, the son, who's played by an Evan Alex, that was the one performance in the film, the performance by the boy, the son, that I didn't quite 100% buy. Like, he wasn't, his performance wasn't terrible, but compared to the other three members of the cast, his performance, for me, just didn't quite work at times, especially when it came to selling the horror. Like his sister, the performance given by his sister, the actress playing his sister, was incredible. But then when you've got him within the same scene and within the same frame, I would look at his character and I'm like, and I'm not entirely sure if that was down maybe to direction, maybe that was what Jordan Peele wanted from the character. If there was one performance in this film that didn't quite work for me, and then that would have been from the Evan Alex who plays the son within this film. For me, what really highlights how good this cast is within the movie, how good the performances are, especially with Lupita Nyong'o, is when they play their doubles as well. So you've got them playing the, the everyday selves, and then you've got their double, that darker, more sinister side. And in contrast, especially when you've got these scenes playing out with them playing these two different characters, that really for me highlights how good the performances was. She portrays what they call or refer to as Red, the leader of the Tethered, and she is like a completely different person but the same person. It's just, her performance was incredible, and that is it. And the same goes for the rest of the cast. Now, as I previously mentioned, this movie also has social commentary like Get Out, but it also has the humour as well. The way in which the humour was incorporated into the story of Get Out was perfect. For me, in Us, I liked it. It wasn't quite as well done as I thought it was with Get Out. It wasn't quite as incorporated as well into the story. It didn't really sort of fit it as well into how events played out quite as well as it did in Get Out. For me, at times the humour just sort of stood out, and it didn't quite flow as naturally or as organically as I wanted it to have been. It just felt a little bit out of place. In a way, it sort of pulled me out a little bit of the film. It didn't quite sort of fit in well or gel well into what had just occurred or the moment that these characters had just experienced. It just did not feel right. It just didn't feel natural enough. And as a result of these moments not working, it sort of destroyed the horror and the tension that they had created within that moment and that scene, leading up to the point of when you would get the humour. So I think the moments that I'm talking about at times were just a little bit too humorous and light-hearted compared to the scene and the moment, compared to the horrific moment that we just experienced, and as a result, it just threw me out of the film a little bit. But for the most part, the humour does work, and it made me chuckle a few times, and like I said, I did like the humour. Now, like Get Out, this is a very deep movie. It's quite a meaningful movie. I felt it will have you thinking quite a bit. I did all the way home coming from the cinema after watching it. It really did make me think, because depending on how you look at this movie, you may have a different sort of perception of what the outcome is or what the film is about compared to someone else. Especially, I feel like if you go and watch this a second time, you may end up looking at this film in a slightly different way as you did from the first time you watched it. And I just love it when films do that. I love it when, writers and directors, they allow you to use your brain and to really think about what is going on and what, the meaning of this story could potentially be. Like I said, I do think people will have different sort of views and ideas of what is occurring, what is happening, especially on your first viewing. And like I said, I believe on your second viewing that would potentially change, and I love that. The one little gripe I will have with that is within the third act, it does kind of say what it's all about. What this film is all about. And for me, that destroyed a little bit of the mystery. Like, you could still go back and watch this film and sort of decipher it and sort of look at it in a different perspective and see something else and think, actually, no, I think this is what this film is really about, or I think this is what the film is trying to say. And there are a lot of ideas in this movie. Maybe a little bit too many ideas within this film. But like I kind of like that. But there is this moment within the third act. There's a scene, a very well shot scene. In fact, I'm not gonna say too much because I don't want to give anything away. But I love the way this film is shot entirely. It's a beautiful looking film. But in this one particular moment in the third act, there is a kind of reveal of what's been going on, and what it's all about. The events that occur in this film is sort of explained, and I was like, I think potentially we could have done without some of that and just had a little bit more mystery to it and had us thinking just a little bit more than this film is already going to be having you thinking about. Because this film, no matter what happens, there's so many, like I said, there's so many ideas in this film that even when you get that sort of reveal in the third act, it's still going to leave you thinking, and that you try and dissect in this movie piece by piece, and I love that. But there is that one particular moment which bugged me ever so slightly, and I feel like it'd be a crime if I didn't mention anything about the score within this film. I loved the music within this movie. The music is composed by a Michael Abel, who also did the music for Get Out, and I just thought it was incredible. It helps elevate the horror and tension within the movie. You know, it adds a lot to the story. I just really dug the music in this film to a point where I'll probably end up buying it at some point. There were two film directors that sort of came to my mind, to my head while watching this film. One of those was M. Night Shyamalan. It did feel like an early M. Night Shyamalan movie. And Quentin Tarantino. There were moments in this film where I thought this could have been directed by Quentin Tarantino. And especially when it came to the score and how the score was utilised within certain moments of this film, certain scenes, how certain scenes sort of played out, I thought was very Quentin Tarantino. Maybe that's just me, I don't know. If not, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to get a discussion going about it. But at the same time, still have that sort of distinct style that Jordan Peele have given us with Get Out. You know, this feels very much like a Jordan Peele movie. It doesn't feel like a Quentin Tarantino movie or an M. Night Shyamalan movie. You know, this is very much Jordan Peele. This is very much what we sort of got with Get Out. There were just moments that reminded me of a Quentin Tarantino movie. It doesn't overall feel like a Quentin Tarantino movie. This is pretty much Jordan Peele's movie. So yeah, that's what I thought of Jordan Peele's new film. As I really enjoyed it. I think people will take different sort of things away from it, how they looked at the movie, you know, their perception of what they thought the film was about. I feel like a lot of the movie is about sort of the darker side of us, of humans, and I just loved how that was sort of portrayed on the screen as well. I did really enjoy this. It's a very good horror movie, and like I said, we've had some really good horror movies in recent years, which we were lucky to have, because when it comes to the horror genre, it was a genre that was just sort of spewing out really poor, generic, dull horror films. And in recent years we've got sort of the odd gem or two as each year have gone on, you know, the Babadook being one of those, and Get Out being another, and this one now another really good horror movie brought to us by Jordan Peele. This is a film that I would urge people to go and view a second time, a third time, even a fourth time, because I believe you'll take something new from it each time you watch this film. So yeah, they are my thoughts on Us, and I will be giving Us an A-. What did you guys think of Us? Please let me know in the comments below, and let's get a discussion going. Thank you so much guys for watching. I really do appreciate it. And remember, if you want to see future reviews from me and to see just a geek talk about film and TV and just everything geeky, then why not hit subscribe?